back in session at 9:54. Okay. Item number 8, district engineer.
So you should have a handout done. I think everybody got the reservoir level and snow update.
My only comment, just like last month, Ian's doing a poor job. This is,
Hey, look,
It's totally unacceptable. It's unacceptable. You tell me if you can't do any better than that, don't even send.
I don't even know Ian, but I tell you what,
okay, we won't send it. I'll take you guys off the list. Unless it's good news, you don't want it.
They fixed your ditch.
Well, we're gonna blame it on the engineering
They're gonna start
department.
the other today. They're gonna wait, Parker's gonna wait till the end now.
Well, she wants
You get your water Saturday morning.
Saturday morning?
Oh.
All right. Hey, as long as it's wet and I'm good, I'm happy.
I think Friday's coming in. No, Friday should be.
All right, engineer.
Yeah. So the snow's melting as of this couple of days ago. So this is there's some up there. This is the curve from up near Wagon Gap, so by Creed, and we would expect when the snow, if it really starts to melt, I know there's another cold front going through, so probably it'll melt a little and stop melting and again, but you know, we really like to see that. It's at 1,000, we'd like to see it close to 3,000. It'll probably still get up pretty high, but it'll just be real short duration. And so, unfortunately, you know, this is what long-term, this is a curve of what it's supposed to look like. That's a 30-year average. And so we're down here on this little peak right here. So you can see where obviously the snow was melting earlier. It's been doing that for the last 7 or 8 years. And I don't know if we'll get up to that. We definitely won't get that width. That's normal, and we were a little above normal last year, so we got more than that amount of water. This year, we're probably gonna see significantly less. So how much is gonna get into the dam? NRCS it's attached here. NRCS is very frustrating to work with on the forecast. I understand some of the reasons why they do it the way, but for example, for the April to July, that's about on the 3rd page of that, they're showing at Ottawa 100,000 acre feet and at San Marcel 0. Well, we've already got more than 0, and it's just we're only 10 days into the month, so we're getting about about 200 CFS at San Marcel right now, not very much.
I thought this morning cut started increasing.
It start going up a little. It should start going up. For that time period, it'd be very difficult not to get at least 50,000, so we will get some water. We're looking, I think some of the other forecasts, mine and reclamations, is actually showing that by December, the whole annual time period, that we expect to have at least 150,000, which is that's believable. So these numbers are fairly unreliable.
Shows like 1,000 now combined with both of them. Maybe, I don't know.
No, not at San Marcel. I just checked it. At San Marcel and the floodway, there's about 200 CFS.
that little line at that 50% should be up there at least a little bit, right? About 10,000 or so.
Oh, well, I think that's probably, like I told you, that's probably, at 50% forecast, probably about 50,000 acre feet is what, but they use different methods and they're very conservative.
It's all a guesstimate.
Yes, it's all just
They use the swag system.
Yeah, well, it's easy to, I guess it's easier for them to predict 0. Actually, I predicted a negative number. We never.
The math is a lot easier with 0.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. They can multiply any number to it and know the answer.
Right.
San Marcel's 26 CFS and the 159 at the command channel, so for a little less than 200 right now. I didn't.
Yeah. I was looking at the average.
Yeah, the average would be 1,000. That'd be good. So.
Notice they cut the butte down a lot.
There's an average up there. Should be about 350, and here we are down below. So we're not seeing any real trends there. I don't know what those daily fluctuations are, they may be just instrumentation, not real fluctuations of the flow, because that's pretty low flow, that's just base flow, so don't see any snow water in that at this time, but we would expect within 2 weeks probably to see some increase at San Marcos. So, okay, and the good news is we have a full allocation, so you guys remember that. That should carry me through the whole year, shouldn't it? So, right, Robert?
Yep.
Yeah, so, you know, I can't do, next year it won't be that way, but this year's that way. I'm looking at the snow. So the darker the colors here, the more snow. So this is this year, right now, today. If you look at it last year, which was above normal, it's a lot different. That looks a lot better than what I just showed you. So can't do much about that either for right now. So pretty much the snow season's ending earlier every year. I mean, we used to get 30% of our water in April, but I think now that's even over with. We're not going to see that kind of snow events in April anymore. So it is. That's I think where we're at for next year. Could be. So I think we're going to try to work to conserve as much as possible, right?
Yes.
This year's allocation.
We're already working on that.
Speaking of that, there's I think there's an item under the operating agreement on number 8. I do need to get a resolution, so it's operating agreement 8A. And we have an operating manual that requires once the committee members, EPCWID and Reclamation, come to a recommendation. It has to be, all three have to agree, and we've agreed. We can propose changes to the boards, and the 2 boards have to approve of it, and then Salt Lake has to approve of it. And we always send it to Salt Lake last, right?
Yes.
So EPCWID doesn't have a board meeting this week, it's next week, but I need our board to approve it this week. So I'm gonna go over the changes with you guys, so you understand them. Some of them are significant, so you need to ask any questions. I mean, this is really, a big deal, because we're actually changing the agreement.
Well, you're not changing the agreement.
We're changing the manual. We're revising the manual.
Right, right.
Yeah, we're not changing the operating procedure rights. This is just the manual that I'm talking about, which is we have to agree to the changes. So this 463, I think, is good. EPCWID, this was from our years and years of complaining about pumping on the river, right?
Yes.
So, what it says, when sections 4.61 or 462, that has to do when we're paying for the water being charged as it's released from the reservoir. So that's when EPCWID is not diverting. And there's 2 different scenarios that EPCWID does invert. That's at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. The beginning of the year has to do with Mexico has to be off also. At the end of the year, Mexico can be on and we still pay for it. In this case, that's not changing. Those conditions aren't changing. We're not changing 461 or 462. But it says that that they will estimate if there's any pumpings, for example, Holguin, who has been known to pump during this time period and is not his land does not pay taxes in EPCWID, but he takes water directly out of the Rio Grande, that EPCWID's agreed to have that added to their allocation charge.
How are you gonna ascertain that amount?
Probably as an estimate of from the satellite images.
Just an estimate, you're not gonna have a meter reading.
It has a meter on it, and he's required to report the meter to it, but I think I trust the satellite more than I do the meter. So I think we'll have to agree to that as we don't have access to that meter. It's on private land, and I think once Reclamation went up there with the marshal, but we'll let Pat Gordon handle all that stuff. We're saying,
How do you ascertain the value? I mean, who does it?
well, it'd be Phil and me, we come to an agreement. Yeah, and Phil's been very reasonable. I think it's about 400 acres.
400 acres.
And is there an agreement on how river pumping is defined, given some of the wells we've seen go in that they're calling wells, but that are actually basically river pumps?
This is just from from physical where the inlet's in there. I mean, we can argue that point, but, there's already a significant amount of the groundwater pumping that they do, the agreement already covers under that, not during this time period, but during the other time periods. So I think this is an incremental improvement, so I don't think I would try, for example, the Gillis well, which is directly connected. I don't envision that being one of the wells, so it would be the ones that we physically see the inlet in the, like the whole Gein well. So we're not gonna, I don't want to be, this is,
Gillis buried his inlet.
I know.
Right, that's, yeah, and.
That's gonna sort of have to run its other course, because that is permitted by the state of Texas as a groundwater well. We're just doing the ones that are physically have a inlet in the river. That's a big enough problem, right? This is not, it's not a, this is incremental. We're trying to, this is a big deal. I mean, this is the first time that, and believe me, EPAD's not happy that they're having to pay for other people that are, they feel shouldn't be pumping out of the river too. We take care of the ones in Texas. We've got a, pretty effective policy. What's that, where Pete impounds the pump when he finds it? Is that how that works? We can't remove it. And so, we're a little more aggressive in our policy. So the Texas side's been solved for many years.
You're in the hot seat.
It's the New Mexico side, so that hopefully will solve that. There's one issue here that's brought up is that, and I think we agreed that they would have to pay for that if the boundary goes and puts a pump in the river, or any governmental agency and pumps it, EPAD's gotta pay for it. So, instead of giving them so that they'll police the river. So they'll get in there and not let people pump out of the river, right? Unless they've got a permit, and then they can't stop them on the state side, but if they don't have a permit, then at least don't let them do it, so we'll worry about that. That's one, so that's in our favor. The multi-year extreme drought correction factor, we've gone over that in the years past. We've actually implemented this, and the procedure in here allows the committee to do this on a year-by-year basis, so we've been doing it for several years, and we actually have a memorandum that the board's approved, but we never got the information that was in the memorandum incorporated into the manual, so this is sort of a procedural or ministerial type thing, but you still have to approve it again. So this has to do with the way that, what D2, the old D2 relationships represents and what it doesn't represent. And it's an adjustment to that diversion ratio in the river during droughts. And so as you go into a drought, it changes how the river reacts is one way. As you come out of it, it reacts a different way. And this is trying to capture so that at least EPAD would get some allocation if we truly were, which I think that was the essence. So this, you guys have already effectively approved this years ago. It's just that we're just folding that memorandum into the agreement. So these are the numbers down here, that table, and so we adjust the diversion ratio by these amounts. So that reduces the impact on EPAD during some of these multi-year droughts, which it should, because we had intended that. It just didn't get captured right in the mathematics that were in the original manual. So this is so for example, in the third year coming out of drought, there's no adjustment. That's why those are all ones. If there was a 2-year drought period, there's a 4% adjustment on the second year, 8% adjustment on the first year, and a 12%. During that year that you went into it. So I don't know why it just did that, but I guess it didn't want you to see the rest of this. Let me switch to, I guess I could switch to that one up there.
Did your field just do this recently?
You know, I'd go look, it's been 3 years, is that when we passed the resolution?
I mean, these corrections you're talking about.
Yeah, 3 years ago, we presented all this to you, and we signed the memorandum, we just hadn't got it put in the manual. Various things happened, it was scheduled to be put in, I think it was 3 years ago, it was scheduled to be put in 2 years ago, but we can talk about it in closed session, but that all the litigation sort of stopped any changes in the manual on doing that. I think that's a display for it, I don't have a display for it. Let me see if
That was a pretty picture.
It's a picture of the Rio Grande,
It's a real grand man on a, with a, what's the wind?
Plus, last year, some federal agency tried to change the whole manual,
Oh, yeah.
and we stopped it.
Not to be named.
Where do those folks come
I
from?
think she claims to be the glue,
I don't have an adapter for that one.
You know, that needs to.
No, I have, yeah, but that's a display board. It's the wrong type of cable. Says that it's casting too, sorry about that, I don't know, I have any idea why I did that, what's the name? Every month it's something new. Oh,
Smart case.
I guess it's trying to tell me to make my presentations faster.
You thought it was a dumb case,
Yeah.
instead of a smart case.
Is that a reflection on our engineering?
I don't know.
It's on that was made in China. It was.
It was. That's why it's Netflix, it's so low.
So,
There it is over there.
yeah, we just switched technology. So, any other questions on that? I know it's very complicated, so I could go through each of these, but it's something that the board's already, I presented graphs and all sorts of analysis to you years ago, and I could redo that if you want me to.
We've already agreed to it, we just haven't finalized it. so.
All right. It's worked. I mean, you've already lived this. We've already gone into a multi-year drought and come out of it because we had a full allocation last year. So
Came out of it for 1 year.
for 1 year, but you went through the whole cycle. So we exercised this table. I think we did it all the way through the 4th year, into the 5th or more. We went into it, well, we haven't done since the adjustment hasn't been for that many, but the drought has. But I think that's our big part to help EBID out. 5 was exchange of information. This was Reclamation's request on this, and this is I don't think it's that big of a deal. We rewrote everything because they wanted, I guess, they wanted a different procedure. I can't remember. I think before it was like the 2nd Tuesday of the month or something, wasn't it?
yes.
And so 2nd Tuesday or the 10th day, they're about the same, right?
It'd be 4 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, you could get a little few extra days in there. So anyways, we went to the 10th day of each month, and then this was a little bit strange. This had to do with, I guess, I don't think Chewy or Robert were there that time, but at a meeting that Reclamation was upset that I wasn't turning in the allocation charges in a timely manner. But our allocation charges are dependent on data from EBID, right, Robert? And we can't do anything until we get EBID's data.
Right.
And that when we're the only ones diverting water, like right now, I have to receive the data from Reclamation for how much they released, because that goes into our allocation charges. And when Mexico's on with us and EBID's still off, I have to receive Mexico's numbers. So the reason I wasn't turning that in, and there was extensive documentation, there's multiple emails of me requesting the data, is that the federal government had never given us, Robert or me, the data. So I couldn't do our allocation charges, and so my emails were going out. And then I guess they decided that that wasn't good enough, that I had documented by email, so they sort of complained fairly aggressively.
But they ate crow at the end.
Yeah, I said, I don't know why they're blaming me for this, you guys. I sent out 7 requests for the data, and all of them done ignored. So I took the time at that point to correct it, and since they wanted to change how the information exchanged, I went ahead and put in this 3rd paragraph, and so I've got 7 days after I receive the data from them. So if I don't receive the data from them, we can't do it, and so I get a week, and so I took advantage of that. We deleted that last sentence. I don't even know why we had that in there originally, Judy, but we just felt it wasn't necessary, right? Yeah, it's not a big deal. Any questions on those? That's just procedural. Doesn't change anything. We had that the crop reports were due in January, was a little hard to meet, so we changed it to March, which we still haven't turned them in this year. So, I don't know.
How March it?
It's not March yet, yeah. We changed it to the 10th, that one's the second Monday, to the 10th, that was second Tuesday, we changed it to the 10th, that was January, changed it, so none of these really have a big, updating the manual was, I think, just editorial. There was, some of this language was redundant or unnecessary. You can't do anything to this or the operating agreement unless it's, it has to be unanimous, that all three parties have to agree to it, so. We said that several times, so we just changed that to once where it says that now. And I don't think he had to say no unilateral departure because it has to be agreed and unanimous consent, so that second one was a little bit redundant. And the only thing we added in there is that we weren't gonna schedule when the meeting was gonna occur anymore, just that anybody that wanted to propose a change, they had to at least get us the proposed change 1 week prior to the meeting. That was sort of what happened from last year, right, where they dropped that stuff on us at the meeting and caused a big blow up at the meeting. So now, if you want to blow up a meeting, you got to give us a week's notice before the meeting. So there's any questions? I'll go a little faster. And then the last change is just we keep track of what all the changes are, and we just add it to the bottom of the manual. So that's it. So that I do need a resolution for the board to approve those changes.
Okay, do I hear any motion to approve?
So moved.
Terry makes a motion, Indar seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
All right, thanks.
Didn't take us near as long as it used to do, right? Didn't it?
Well, I didn't want to go too fast.
What else, anything else?
Unless you have any
Did Jay
questions.
been asleep? There's not any applications.
No applications, we placed them all last month, so.
They're all been asleep though.
No, not at all.
I don't think anybody's in our canals, are they? No, they're
No,
not.
everybody's out.
Everybody's out.
Everybody's out.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
That was a car there yesterday.
Yeah, well,
Each your own.
Take it out.
That was all y'all had, right?
yeah, that's it. We're
Not at
done.
all. Yes. Then you agree?
Good morning. Well, seems like we got through the weeds already, so for a little while till later tomorrow, I guess, or today, is it supposed to get real windy again?
Tomorrow.
Got some of those Lordsburg tumbleweeds again.
Yeah.
65 mile an hour wind.
Yeah, we grow those over there. Irrigated tumbleweeds. They're high in protein. It's a little hard to digest.
Yeah, they tell people when they're little.
They go to kosher.
And I'll start with the drain program on some of the drains that we've done here in the last month. Most of these will be here on the Mesa Spur and again on the New Mexico, the Upper Valley. This is just right here, off of Worsham Road. And one of the drains within the city of El Paso. Here, this little area here, we're trying to figure out where we're getting this water from. Apparently it's coming from a storm drain pipe, but we can't seem to find the source yet. So I've gotten with Bob this morning and I told him to go ahead and contact the PSD, get him out there. I'd hate to have a water line that's leaking because the water is pretty clear. But it's quite a bit of water, and then we'll go back out there and it won't be running.
Is there a water line?
There's
water line in that general vicinity?
Well, I'm not sure, that water line goes all the way up to North Loop, so I'm pretty sure at one point it will cross a water line.
Was that Cross Street, Mitchell?
That's Pendale.
Pendle.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
North Loop and Pendale.
Mesa.
The Mesa, yeah, Mesa and Pendale. So, yeah, yesterday we went around trying to look for the source, and we just can't seem to find the source of the water. And it was running pretty good yesterday. You see,
No, that's gotta be a
That's-
while.
Gotta be over.
it's quite a bit of water. Now, that's the upstream side, just from where, the water's at, so we know it's not coming from the drain.
Yeah, that's a lot of water.
You know, the funny thing about it is, it is coming in from, one of the storm drains, pipes that fall into the Mesa. So who knows where it's at.
Huh.
This is the Mesa, further downstream. Just gonna go through it pretty quick, just, give you an idea. This is also the Mesa right below, Horizon. Right before we go into, Seafood Brown Farm, or Mama's Farm.
It'll be that way again tomorrow.
Let's hope not. This is just right here off of 1110. We went in there and mowed, and we had some complaints in there, and of course, we mow, and we have to go back and take everything out. This is the initial release when we first got the water down here in the Favens area. This is right there at the Hanson Heading. And we had a lot of weeds this year. This is there at the heading of the island main by upstream from Hole in the Wall. And you'll see the amount of weeds that we're pulling out. We're pulling out of that structure there, or that the island main. So we pulled all these weeds out here when the water first came in. And this past weekend, we get this. Apparently, somebody lit it. They caught the guys that lit it apparently.
Just for fun, huh?
Well, I don't know if it's for fun, but there was three gentlemen that were arrested, or not arrested, but they were, I guess,
They
cited.
do that for a
But-
diversion.
I'm sorry?
They do that for a diversion from all the law enforcement, and everybody's over there at that when there's other things taking place.
My understanding is, the gentlemen that were there were some farmers, employees, and, after we showed up, the guys were released that they weren't cited. So I really don't know what came out of this.
In the morning,
No, yeah, this happened, it was late at night on, I think it was Thursday that it happened.
you know, when I saw the fire down there, it was in the, probably 10 a.m. or something.
Oh, no, this was at night. But, they burned most of the weeds.
I'm surprised it burned that quick, it's so wet.
We just got everything at the bottom that didn't burn because it was so wet. Couple of washouts on the Mesa drain. This is the drain we just dug out, and, as you can see that gopher hole from the field there. This is just downstream from Coker Road. Now this, unfortunately, this road is one that's being used, for all those homeowners out on the back, so I had to go in and kind of react to it and get it repaired ASAP. And then some of our problems, once water got in, this actually did go over the top, it's actually eating around the concrete. And then this is the Franklin, what we were talking about a little earlier on, with the bridge and silt on the bottom. Gopher holes ran all alongside this Franklin Canal from Moon Road on upstream towards, Nevada's. So we went in there and we dug the channel about 2 feet in, or deeper, just right in the middle. And it seemed to work. Water dropped, I would say probably about a good, 8 inches, Robert, 12 inches?
Good 12.
So it helped. There was some mustard wheat that grew on the bottom, and I'm thinking that's part of the problem that,
Track more sediment.
yes. And we did everything from Moon Road all the way up to about maybe 100 feet from Medicus. So far right now, we've replaced a total of 3 culverts. And I got 8 more that I've got to do. For some reason, it never fails. When they start failing, it seems like they all fail at the same time. And this is actually a private ditch that goes over our drain. That's what it looked like after we're done, we just cleaned up the inlet there.
Is that the island?
This one here? No, this,
The other one.
no, the other one was here in Cincinnati, right by,
Oh, okay.
behind Glorieta. This one here is actually the Cuadrilla, just downstream from, Mr. Kimball's place there. And, that pipe eroded, it wasn't too old, I'm thinking it's about maybe 10 years old, maybe a little bit more. But, it was some of that 16 gauge pipe, which really is not doing much for us right now, so I did replace it with some 12 gauge pipe.
It was a module builder that did it in.
And unfortunately, this pipe sits real high, so what I did is I two-stacked it because I know there is a lot of traffic that goes through this section here. Back to the old, I believe it was Randy Bill's farm. Back where these guys speak on, so we backfilled it with two-stack to make sure that, that it doesn't collapse when the heavy equipment go through it. That's what it looks like after it was completed. This one here is on the Juan D. Branch C, right by the old Burris Farms. And apparently there was a HDPE pipe here, and in the process of burning out the canal, I guess they took the pipe with it. So, burned about 100 feet of the pipe. So I went ahead and went in there and replaced it with a aluminized pipe. And this job's been completed also. That's the same pipe there. This is one of the pipes that, that's failing. You can see the hole right in the middle. This is right there by the Telman of Salitran. Then you got this one here over by the T462 over by Hideaway Lakes.
Is that from Apache Barricade?
We used what we had.
Just the Apache.
We think they're put that one.
Thank you.
And this one here is actually the Canutillo. I'm hoping to get in here next week and do this one. This one I can't really do it until water's out of the system, or Robert gives me a couple of days of to go in there and do it. But because this is the main heading of the Canutillo heading,
Hopefully we get it Monday.
so. And you can see also the erosion of the pipe. This one here, it is pretty old. This is Ralph Chavez. We're getting ready to start on this one. He's irrigating right now. He should be done today, and hopefully we'll get started on it tomorrow. This one here is, it leaks pretty bad. It's looks like a sprinkler system. This is one of our long reaches, our older long reach. You can see the stick on our long reach. This stick had been welded, I guess, about 15 years ago. But over on the top, it, I guess the weld didn't penetrate, and the cracks just started running down. And last week, we completely lost the stick of this long reach.
Who do you get to fix those things?
This one here, in reality, Johnny's got no fix on it. But
Who
Bob,
fixed it the first time?
it was, it must have been somebody in-house. They got repaired. That was back in before my time in maintenance. And I'm thinking the employee that did it is no longer with us.
Last time we fixed one, we got a ladder industry to do it, and they did a really good job.
Yeah.
They put a plate over it?
Yeah, they did a tremendous job.
Yeah, and you can see that the penetration, he didn't get any penetration into the metal.
And you get that side deal instead of this way, it's the side deal that your swing goes back to the top.
And when it first broke, the crack came down the side, but it was still attached in the bottom of it. But in the process of getting it out of the canal and getting it on a trailer, it just completely broke.
Super glue,
The bottom piece stretched, so I'm looking into getting another stick right now. I've gone with Wagner. We're looking at
much.
The price I have now is $18,000 to replace the stick, but
You know, Pete, up in California where I go, they've got this place where they got a lot of these parts, used parts. Hell, Let me get you the number.
Okay.
They got a lot, I mean, there's 10 acres of Caterpillar parts.
Oh, okay, great.
See if I can,
We can find some.
I'll get you the number.
Okay, see
See
what we
if
can
you
find.
can call these guys, but I mean, there's just lines and lines of equipment. And that's what they do, they sell used parts. I don't know if that'll help you or not.
It's worth a try.
Yeah.
I did speak to Desi from Wagner, and this part here, you know, nothing truth out of, hey, I wonder if this thing could be purchased under a state purchase, and apparently it can. He responded to me yesterday afternoon, and it can be purchased under a state,
Part?
Yeah,
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
under
there's some
state
parts
pricing.
that qualify.
Good.
So it does, I'm just waiting on new pricing on it. So I emailed him this morning to give me some new pricing on the stick. Unfortunately, the stick is not something that they have in stock. Originally had told me that they had it in stock. It's something that has to get fabricated at the time that we put the order in
Probably, what, 6 weeks or 8 weeks or more.
there, at least.
They didn't have it on the shelf, right?
No. No. He first thought they had it in stock, but apparently they don't.
So I said, Al, he kept the pictures that I sent him because he said, I'll use these at budget time for my crane.
Yeah,
He's still worried about
I said I got some
That's
ammunition for
that was that
Al.
side-to-side action that they were doing when they were installing it.
You know, and you're right, Al, because you know something, we do put a lot of stress on those booms when we're putting these
Right,
pipes
yeah, I
into
mean,
the.
a crane would, it's just the design, is
No, he was
obviously.
talking about the crane to lift that up and get it out.
Well, we could use that too, you might not have broken it if it had the crane to get it out of the canal.
You know, these excavators, the buckets are actually reduced to a smaller version. It's
Yeah.
less than a 36-inch just because of the,
The reach, yeah.
the long reach on it.
Yeah, it's tremendous moment against that.
I mean, we do use 4 excavators every time we do a job like that, but it is a lot of stress.
I think we found some cranes that we.
Yeah, there's some cranes available on GSA auctions.
Well, and that same site there you just said, maybe, you know.
Yeah, well, that's mainly parts, but we've been told that, I mean, we're looking about, for a used one, I may need to have new hydraulic hoses and stuff put on, they
There's
always
some
do.
available on SNL too.
Yeah, 30.
Saturday Night Live.
I think the last time I went up to
I think they gave you permission at a previous budget meeting to go to these auctions.
I don't remember that.
I think the last time I went to Houston, I found a pretty decent one for
Yeah.
about 40,000.
Yeah, that's not bad. The thing is, when you put, the other thing is, you guys understand this, when we take all 4 of our excavators and put them to doing culvert work, that they're not doing excavation work, right? So, and we have to relocate
Well,
them.
and it's the time that it
Time
takes to
and-
move them and.
So this is a small wheel crane at 30 tons. It's not a solve all for everything. It's just a small mobile crane.
I know, yeah, you got him one and he didn't even like
It
it.
doesn't have enough reach.
He didn't like it.
Just won't, the bucket is way too small.
It'd be a long time.
That was a cloud trail.
That's all I have, gentlemen.
All right, Pete.
Thank you, guys.
Get your weed crew out tomorrow. Or the next day. We'll be good tomorrow.
Yeah, well, tomorrow, just blow back.
Get the crew out tomorrow, they can work the next day.
We don't have to worry
All
about
right,
the pile.
4 foot, Robert.
You got it.
So the barbecue started, guys. You were not,
What?
it was smooth, but it started. And like he was saying that we got the season going and we had some rough parts like the Franklin was giving us a little problem and then some of the canals were putting water in, some of the pipes were failing, something that we couldn't even see during the winter until water unfortunately started running to us.
Something's wrong when they're not using them.
Yeah, and then the Riverside, in the very beginning, also had some weeds in there and it took a while to get those flushed out, so every time we try to get water into the tornillo,
You know, I thought the good thing was that they built that fence over to catch all those weeds, so you wouldn't have the trouble, but it doesn't work.
well, and you saw Pete saw all those weeds that we had done, but that was, a lot of those weeds were due to the river getting cleaned upstream. You know, they took all those trees out of the Rio Grande and stuff like that, and so all that brush came on down, and then the unfortunate thing, then Wasteway two on the riverside was out, we could use it, they're still working on it, so we really had no place to go with those weeds, but in the canal, and, you know, we had the Franklin kind of overflowed, and then we had the Island Feeder overflow. It was just, the weeds just piled up on it, and then, but anyway, we watered close to about 23,000 acres, and it took us about 2 weeks, and then, yeah, after that, it started slowing down, and now it's really slowing down. We got the small tracks first group out of the way, we're fixing to hit group 2 this week, and then from here on out, it's gonna be real slow, and I think it's gonna be slow to about the middle of June. So we got about 2 months that we're gonna have to be real tight, and I was telling you yesterday, we're gonna have to do something that I know is gonna upset some farmers, but we're gonna have to bunch up the acres. We just can't be sitting there trying to irrigate 100 here and 25 acres here. We're gonna have to bunch it up, and one thing I wanna do is, the easiest thing to do is leave it alone and go smoothly, but like Unit 6, we're gonna shut it down Sunday after we get through the small tracks. It doesn't have no acres. And we're gonna wait a week, and then we'll fire back up, and hopefully we can get another 400 or 500 acres to build up. Then the small tracks start up again, and we'll be into it the same way. Unit 7 comes Sunday, when we get through the small tracks, we're gonna shut them down for about 5 days, and let the acres build up, and then we'll come back Friday and start picking them up. But we gotta save water as much as possible here for the next 2 months. Try to, like Stone Chewy, if we could save, maybe it's a big dream, but save 100,000 for next year would be great. So we're gonna have to do whatever we have to do to save, and then the next two months is the greatest thing we can do, because I don't think, you know, you guys being farmers, there's no crop up there we can hurt the next 2 months. Once the cotton starts coming in, and we could hurt somebody, so that's, watch out. But in the next 2 months, we're gonna be very critical with the water. So some of the farmers might not like it, but we're gonna try to cut back as much as possible. Like, you know, like right now, for next week, there's 2,000 acres for the whole valley. Out of the 2,005 Rs, 1,000. So we cut back, and we can use some of the ditch RSP, can only use them for catching up on the pipe and cleaning up, and like I said this weekend.
How much alfalfa did they get, you have planted this year, you think?
It's hard to tell yet, Johnny, but there is some out there, but, you know,
Not a lot.
not a lot.
That's a crop.
I think what came in was a lot of cotton came in. So, you know, and
I was
sometimes,
saying that'd be a crop that they made when you weren't water during that time,
so,
that pecan tree.
the concrete,
But you could probably bunch them together, I don't think that it's gotta be done this day, cause it's not that hot yet.
no, so,
You think we should order a little bit earlier, Robert, to kind of help you with that?
Earlier the better.
You know,
Earlier the better, but-
2 weeks, you know, save
but
on
no,
water.
Mary, nobody does it. You know, the biggest farmers, they order a Monday, and they want it a Monday afternoon. Yeah.
But would that be to your benefit?
Oh, yeah, anything you can do would be to a benefit, but they don't do it.
'Cause, I mean, that would help you kind of schedule it better, I mean.
Well, it helps me and it helps with Pete, because like he said, he got that conductillo heading messed up. And like, if we cut the water out this coming week, it gives them a week to go in there and do some repair. We can plan or some of the things that needs to be done. Other than that, we have to wait till October.
Yeah, we
This
try
way-
to make that point to farmers, every farm meeting when we get into these.
We do, Johnny, but
Earlier,
it's
the
just,
earlier you make your order.
What do you think, a 2-week period would be good?
no, all I need, Larry, is if they would order it Friday, you know, before 8 o'clock, so I can see what's going on. Because you gotta measure Friday at 8 o'clock. I see, if they order for Monday and Tuesday, I already see the orders, I know what to order.
Right.
You see, but if they come in here and order it Sunday night, and they want it Monday, no yawa. And really, if you really look at it, that water, if they order Sunday night, I'm not gonna order their water till Tuesday for Friday. In the meantime, they go up there, coffee shops, and give the ditch riders all kind of compliments on how we don't give them good water.
That's why I don't go to the coffee shop anymore.
And if they would order early, I'm not saying 2 weeks, Larry, and all we need is.
A week, I mean, just to
Yeah.
put the word out there.
But a lot of guys, the big guys, believe it or not, they come from Unit 8, Unit 9, they like to order Mondays mornings and want it Monday afternoon. And what happens in that case, they're trying to order, they're trying to jump in ahead of you, where you already ordered your water.
I think we have a policy addressing.
You remember the old rule was Tuesday by 8 for the
8.
following Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Friday by 8, wasn't it?
Well,
It's
unless
still
the
there.
water's available.
See, so, and that lets him know, so we
It's
just
still there.
remember Tuesday and Friday by 8, you know, for the next,
But
that works still pretty good, doesn't it?
it works for the good for
follow it.
the ones that follow it.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm not gonna mention,
no, I have a neighbor, he's a great big neighbor, and I used to put in my order, and he used to start calling me and asking me when I was ordering something, ostensibly, so we can unify.
yeah,
And then I found out he was calling up and giving his ready date.
be surprised.
He put his ready date one day ahead of mine.
Yeah.
And
And now-
and he did it all last year.
Now they get online and they see the orders and they say, wow, Art ordered water from Monday.
That's why did we put it online? It was Alfredo, I'll tell you who did it. And then 5R I kept going, wait a minute, what's going on here? And Alfredo told me that's what he's doing. He says, wait for me to order.
Well,
He
that-
goes up and tells him, he looks at my ready date and he puts the ready date one day ahead of it.
Alfred's not there no more, it's Oscar.
Well, now it's Oscar. I mean, it was Oscar last
You want us to take them offline?
Yeah, maybe it was not some good to post those.
No, it's a,
Oh, well.
they claim
We'll
it's
work
so
it out.
good.
For you.